But if you notice now, they're doing a lot of quote unquote biblical shows, and what they're actually doing is trying to trick people into coming to see the shows by saying, giving them names like Moses or the Noah. I went to see that movie Noah, thinking that it was going to be like the story in the Bible, and it was very different. I do believe they just did another one. I can't call it by name. Exodus, right. Supposedly like the book of Exodus, and it was not. They're starting to, it was more of that sort of gladiator. They're taking that gladiator type stuff. But if they give it the name Noah or Exodus, there's some of us that may be fooled by the name, and so we think, oh, it's a biblical movie, and then we go to see it, and it's not at all.
It's anything but that.
Absolutely. But there are some similarities, but it's not. The effect is really not to educate people on what happened in the Bible. The effects are very different.
So it's strictly for entertainment is pretty much what you're saying.
Yeah. And is it entertaining based on what you like? I personally don't like gladiator movies.
I love those type of movies.
See, well, you would enjoy it.
I mean, because they're action. It's
exactly,
an action movie.
And it was just that type of thing, gladiator type of stuff and things that turned into other things, and you would have enjoyed it quite a bit.
So are you saying, so is this good or bad, the having the entertainment part of it?
It depends on what you would like to see. I do enjoy seeing true biblical movies,
or like documentaries. Do you like those about?
Yeah, documentaries are okay, but I
stuff.
I think it's very easy to understand a story when they take the story from the Bible and make it a real life movie or however. I think that's really great. So I do like that, but if they turn it into something that's more gladiator type and not just a story, I'm not too crazy about that. Do you know what I mean? Because I think for many people, people learn in different ways. And I think that, a person may not pick the Bible up and read it, but they may look at a movie like that and then they'll see some things that they know are scripture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that will attract them to want to look at it.
I mean, however it is that you get them in, I think that you can sneak messages in music.
Yes.
Through songs.
Well, I love music.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can sneak messages in movies with the stories, or you can get them into a story that's derived from the Bible through entertainment. Mm-hmm. Moving to the next question. As a child, did you desire to be a minister?
Absolutely not. I did not grow up in the church.
Okay.
I desired to be a singer, of course, with a long red dress with a split up the side.
Like Dream Girls?
Well, like Sparkle.
Okay, like Sparkle. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Sister and Sparkle. It came out when I was a very young girl. Giving him something he can feel, that sort of thing. That's what I aspired to be. And, it's no secret I've spent many years in active addiction. So there were years that I was involved in a lot of drug using, drug dealing, drug this, drug that, drug the other. But God set me free over 20 some years ago. And after a while, probably 10 years into, 10 years later, I realized that this was what God was calling me to do. It's not necessarily something that you elect to do. Some people may elect to do it. But when that's the case, it's because they want to satisfy their own egos. There's some people that God calls to do it, and we do it because we know it's His plan. But it's there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it, and for many of us, it causes us to sort of change a lot of things about ourselves in order to be able to be successful and to be the person that God called us to be. I got a wild side. See, if I wanted to be still satisfying the wild side, I couldn't be doing that and trying to do this too.
And be a minister at the same time.
Right, but there are some. I mean, there are some that people that have been in ministry for years. I think my pastor got saved when he was 18. I was 33 years old when I got saved, and I was 5 years into recovery. before I even got saved. So by that time, it was probably another 10 years before I realized that God was calling me into the ministry.
So maybe preachers, the children of preachers, maybe they desire to be ministers, or maybe not. Maybe they go the opposite.
Very few.
Very few.
Very few, because I think it's the sacrifice and the fact that they are brought into and raised in the church. A lot of times you'll find that when people are raised in the church, when kids are raised in the church, they just can't wait to get to a point where they can get out of there. As soon as they turn 18, they don't want to go anymore.
No, yeah, I'm done with
Yeah, so there are times, I'm sure, where Martin Luther King's father was a pastor, so he sort of followed in that footsteps. But it certainly doesn't happen always. I think it probably happens less likely than more likely.
I guess, talking about children kind of segues us into the next question. How do you feel about prayers in school? So thumbs up or thumbs down, and why or why not?
So I think that prayer would be great in school because the first reason is there's no reason not to pray. I think that prayer is important. The Bible says in Philippians 4:6 to be anxious about nothing, but in everything through prayer and supplication, make your requests known to the Lord. I think that it would be helpful to children if they would be centered in prayer in the morning. Oftentimes, you'll see singers, you'll see actors, you'll see even the woman on Bring It, the new dance show. They pray. They pray before they go out to perform. They bring God into everything because they know that when they invite God in, that what they do is going to be successful. So I'm sure some of these teachers could benefit from bringing God into the classroom before they get started.
And I guess the reason, and I'm trying to remember if, I guess I prayed in. I guess it was a period that we prayed in school. I think there was.
There was a time. There's a woman that fought to get prayer out of school. She suffered a horrible death. We need to look it up so we can talk about it. I don't know it well enough to try to. I don't want to say something that's not right. But she suffered a horrible death for taking prayer out of the school.
So you're attributing the manner of her death.
She probably could have used God. She should have been praying.
Do you think she prayed?
Not if she wanted it out of the school, because anybody that prays appreciates the importance of prayer, and they know how important it is. There's no way she would have taken it out of the school. Actually, I think she was an atheist. I'm pretty sure she was an atheist, and so that's why she didn't want prayer in the schools.
And I mean, you have people who are atheists, and then you have other religions, and then I guess does it go down to the religion of the teacher leading the prayer? I mean, it probably gets difficult.
Prayer can be very basic. God is omnipresent. I mean, he's everywhere. He's everything. It can be very basic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I mean, it just gets so. Politics and religion is just such a subject to cause big debates.
Well, everything in life can cause a big debate.
Right. That's true.
To be honest with you. But, I mean, just think about it. So we don't want prayer in the school, but as soon as something happens, as soon as there's a tragedy, then we want to start praying.
That's true.
And, Scripture actually talks about praying. God talks about praying to keep yourselves out of temptation. Do you know what I mean? And it says again, in everything, whether it's big, whether it's small, we should be praying to God that his will would be done. Not calling on him only when there's a tragedy, and that happens. Oftentimes that happens.
Calling when there's a tragedy.
Absolutely. Then we want to know where
That's
God
not
was.
Good. Yeah.
Well, where was God when so-and-so happened? Well, he wasn't there. Remember, you didn't invite him in. You told him don't come around. You didn't want to pray. You didn't want to talk to him. So God wasn't there because you shut the door and said you didn't want him in the house. So he wasn't there. Am I right?
Well, yeah. What did you expect, right? You got what you wanted.
Absolutely. Well, be careful what you
ask
pray
for.
Pray for. You just might get it. That's a different topic, though.
Absolutely. If you're just tuning in, just catching the broadcast, Diamond K and Bridgette Crawford. Minister Bridgette Crawford, excuse me, And this is Ask the Minister on radioonfire.com. Also on minbcrawford.com.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the next question. Please give your thoughts on the phrase, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Okay, so I'm going to give my thoughts, but of course we need to always go into the Bible. So it's in Proverbs 13:24, and depending on the version that you look at, it could read differently. But basically, what it's talking about is raising children as they should be raised and disciplining them. And it says that if you love them, you would discipline them. And that's what it's really all about. It's not about, physically abusing a child. It says, whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. So the Bible actually says that, careful to discipline them. And you know as well as I do that if you don't discipline children, if you don't teach them what is right and what is wrong, if you don't show them how to conduct themselves, then they grow up to be unruly people. So
I agree with that.
Right. So spare the rod. I think it can be taken out of context when you hear spare the rod, spoil the child. I think people may focus on the spare the rod part.
Yeah, they do.
Right. But it's
because they think that it means beat the child or don't beat the child.
I guess so. But at the end, you have to look at the entire sentence. Do you know what I mean? You have to look at it. It says that if you love your children, you are careful to discipline them. And, there are oftentimes, I'll be the first to admit that I guess back in the day, the way that we were disciplined could have been more harsh than it needed to be. But as you
said that well.
Yeah, it could have been more harsh than it needed to be. And at the end of the day, our parents did the best that they could. If you think about it in the Jackson 5 movie, okay, here I go. In the Jackson 5 movie, the Lawrence Hilton Jacob playing the role of Joseph Jackson says, "I'm doing what I know to do."
Right.
So he was basically saying,
right.
Although it certainly is considered as abuse today, I'm not saying that it wasn't. He was basically saying that he was doing what his father did. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the best that he knows. And then when we grow, sometimes we're just ignorant. We don't understand it. It doesn't take all of that. So
to get it done, yeah.
Right. So he was doing what his father did. But at the end of the day, it's still about being careful to discipline children and to teach them in the way that they need to go. Have you seen adults that are unruly?
Absolutely.
Have you seen people where it seems like they weren't really taught? And I'm not trying to be negative, but people that really weren't taught some basic life skills,
like right from wrong type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just some basic life skills.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes you see people that are, they do spoil children. You do overindulge, and when you overindulge, they end up being spoiled adults, and they have difficulty dealing with life because life, places a stumbling block in your way. Life does not spoil people. When you come out in the real world, you have to deal with no. You have to deal with rejection. Right. You have to deal with all types of things that you may not deal with coming up as a child when, you have a parent that is overindulging and not sort of getting you prepared for real life situations, and that they're not giving you life skills.
Right. And you can definitely see the result of that when they become adults.
Yes. Yeah. Because they can't, have you ever seen people that cannot accept the word no?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then when real life hits you and things don't go your way, people begin to crack like the Liberty Bell. They crack, they crumble, they fall. They can't deal with real life.
Yeah.
They can't deal with life on its own terms. And sometimes you need to be able to do that.
And so a single mother raising a boy.
Okay.
The disciplining part, that's usually where I find it that's where it's located. The single mother raising the boy.
Where it's absent, you mean?
Yeah. It
Okay.
doesn't seem like it's there when it's a single mother raising a girl. But when the single mother's raising the boy, it seems like she's scared to discipline in the way that it needs to. I mean, stop it. I say leave it alone. Like that happens. But it doesn't it's overcompensating because the father's absent.
But it doesn't take a child long to figure out that when you say stop it, leave it alone, you're going to say it 15 times. And
right.
They can just keep touching it.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't take them long to figure that out. But I'm a firm believer that a mother can't be a father. You hear people say, on Mother's Day or Father's Day, if you were the only parent, a mother was I just don't agree with that. I believe that only a father can be a father. And sometimes for a child, the father doesn't have to do anything but be there.
The presence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're more intimidated by their father's voice.
Yeah.
They're more intimidated just by the stature. They're more intimidated because the father is the father. Just for children, just being called the father or the daddy, I think they have their own ideology about what that means. And the first thing the mother says is, I'm going to tell your father. And the father doesn't necessarily have to do anything. But once you hear that, uh-oh. Do you know what I mean? And so it kind of has that
and that's a form of
it.
discipline almost, because it's the threat of something that whatever's in the child's mind.
Well, absolutely. Discipline is whatever works. And I believe that mothers can discipline their sons. I think that sometimes there seems to be this relationship between the mother and the son that's not always present with the mother and the daughter. And that's where the mother loses the ability to discipline the sons the way that they should. And I think at the end of the day, we're all suffering as a community because of the absence of the discipline. It doesn't necessarily have to be that the father is not there. Sometimes it's just because a father can physically be there and still be absent.
That's true.
Am I right? Okay.
Definitely.
So I think that just a mother can't be a father, no matter what. Even if they are the only parent, if they're the single parent or the only parent, that's what they are. They're not the mother and the father. And I think if we realize that as a community, that a mother can't be a father, then maybe we would understand the importance of having a father. So as a community, if we're getting conditioned to believe that I can be the mother and the father, then I may start to think that we don't necessarily need the father around because I can play both parts. But if we realize that I can't be the mother and the father, I can only be the mother if I'm a female, or the father if I'm a male, then we would recognize that we need that other person because I can't be the father to the child.
And women do that. Men don't say, I'm his father and his mother. Like, men don't say that.
Well,
only women want to take that role.
Well, I don't know if men say it or not.
They don't.
Well, part of that could be because there are very few single fathers.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe that's it.
There are very few single fathers.
Very few. That's true. But
true. I don't know. I would check with some single fathers first.
I know a couple.
Okay, they don't say it.
They don't say it, and I know plenty single mothers, I know plenty single mothers that say I'm his mother and his father.
Well, the other thing could be also that a male doesn't want to identify with being a female.
Yeah, right.
I bet that plays a big part of it too.
That might be it.
That probably seems sort of weird.
If everybody just stayed in their lane, though, I think that's the main thing. If everybody stayed in their lane and played their part.
But check it out. I think we're really onto something. Whereas a woman would be fine identifying herself as a mother.
And why is that?
I don't know. That's a condition. But
she's
a man certainly
she's completely comfortable with saying that.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I don't say it. I
don't believe. But
it.
And it's not only that. I mean, because they'll say anything a man can do, a woman can also do. Men don't say anything a woman can do, I can do. Like, we don't say it. It doesn't work. It's strictly women taking over.
I don't think it's women taking over. I think that it's women, because when the woman says that she can be the father, I think that it's identifying strength.
Yes.
For a man to say anything,
it's a weakness.
It appears that way.
No, it is.
Well, not necessarily, because
I mean, when we're coming
it doesn't take a weak person to be a mother. The mother's the strong one if we tell the truth about it.
But yes, that's
She's
true.
The heart.
But when we're coming up as kids,
right?
We're on the football field, we're on the basketball court. Man, stop acting like a little girl. That's like the worst thing you can say. I ain't act like no girl. That'll get them in shape. But if a woman to a child, she says you're acting like a boy. I mean, it's I guess that might be bad too, but it's just.
Well, I think it's part of the discipline. So as we begin to discipline our children, we tell them early on, boys can't play with dolls and girls shouldn't play with trucks, and we try to shape them.
Right.
Into the gender, we try to shape them into their gender, and so in us doing that, we do make the female, the softer. I'm not going to use the word weaker. I'll just use
softer.
So the softer, the softer person, and then we have the male, the stronger image. So we've got a softer image and we've got a stronger image, and that's what they start out with from the beginning. And so that's probably why men don't identify themselves as mother.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And why it's the way? Not because men are so great and they don't do that. I think that it's just more image and ego.
We are great though.
I think it's more about their image. I think it's more about their image and their ego that they don't say it. Not so much because they're bigger than that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I thought you were trying to say they were bigger.
And the way society.
I thought you were trying to say, men.
No. I mean,
men are bigger than that.
We're not,
they don't do that. And I'm like, no.
I ain't saying that.
Okay,
I ain't
good,
saying
cool.
that. I'm not saying that.
All right.
And so finally, and this is a bit of a doozy. My son is 20 years old and dating a woman 10 years older than him. I do not approve, but I'm afraid to tell him. She's afraid that it will push them even closer together. I want him to date girls his age. This woman is trying to make my son a father to her children. What should I do? That's interesting.
Well, it is interesting.
There's a lot going on there.
It is a lot going on, but I think here again, we have this mother who's trying to coddle or dictate, or I think it's very interesting because the mother is saying that she wants the son to date persons or females closer to his age, which I totally get that. But just because this woman is 10 years older, it's certainly not traditional, but I mean, you never know. I guess you can't help who you love, but I think it's interesting that she says that the woman is trying to make her son the children's father. I'm curious where that comes from. I'm also
like where she gets that idea from.
Yes, and is it just because the woman? And I'm sure she has her reason for the opinion. Is it just because the woman has children, or is the woman, leaving her children with the son? Like, why is the mother thinking that that the girlfriend is trying to make the male the father of her children? You can't make anybody the father of your children. And come on, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees on whether it's going to survive, whether the person is your age or not. Sometimes age has something to do with it, but sometimes not.
I think a part of it is, I mean, I hate to say the word, but jealousy.
The mother?
Yes. A lot of times, and I think this is regardless of the age, whether if the girl was 18 and didn't have any children, she still would have a problem. It would be she would have a different, problem.
Right.
But it would be a problem nonetheless.
She's too this.
Trying to, because it comes down to taking the place in your son's life that you have.
But how can that be?
It can never be.
How can a girlfriend take the place of a mother? They're two totally different things.
Yeah.
I think it is about the overindulgence. And then the mother says she's afraid that if she tells the son, it's going to drive them closer. But it may not necessarily drive them closer, but I think she's more concerned about it driving a separation, a wedge between her and the son.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And my thing is that he's 20 years old, so maybe it wouldn't drive something in between the two of them. Maybe he might pull back from the girl he's dating. Maybe, but eventually, that car is not going to work. If it still works now, it may work, but a couple years from now, that car is she's not going to continuously be able to play that card. I don't think.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, she's saying, what should I do? And I would say, if you feel strongly about the relationship, then you can say how you feel, which I think if the relationship between the mother and the son is like that, then she should certainly say how she feels. And after that point...
She should say, I don't like... Because it seems... she didn't say it, but it seems like she doesn't like the lady. The girlfriend.
Well, she certainly needs to choose her words wisely. I mean, why not? I mean, unless she has sufficient reason not to like her. But at some point, you have to mind your business.
I'm going to say she came off as single to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Because she had enough. Why are you worrying about a 20? You've already raised him.
That's true. But I think as parents, we're always protective. But at some point, we need to. And I think it wasn't just that. I think when she started talking about she's trying to make my son the children of her father, and I want him to date women. Well, I mean, he's going to date women that he wants to date. You can't dictate the type of person that your son or your daughter dates and, you know, A, B, C, and D. And so I think she's maybe a little overbearing.
A little.
Probably the protector. I certainly hope he's not living in her basement. But I believe that
it sounds like he still lives at home.
Well,
but he may not.
And even if he does at 20, I mean, if he's 20 and maybe in college and trying to find his way, 20 is really not that bad to still be living at home. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, we all have to live our own lives. We all have to have our own experiences. We all have to suffer. It's the things that we experience in life that shape us into who we are destined to be at the end of the day. So I still think that what mothers should do is mind her own business, and leave the son alone, allow him to have his own experience. And I know as a parent, you want the best for your children, but at the end of the day, kids do what everybody do. People pretty much do what they want to do.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what you say. Exactly.
Right.
If they're at an age where you can tell your kids what to do and they do it, then that's great. But at a certain point, I have found that at the end of the day, people do what they want to do, and you cannot stop them. And let me tell you something else too. If two people want to be together, there is absolutely nothing that you can do to keep them apart. Huh?
That's true.
I have found that people will go through any length to be together. I'm not kidding. I think that they would go to any length. They would do whatever it is that they have to do. And I think sometimes, depending on the personality of the people, they kind of get this whole Romeo, Juliet, you and me against the world type of deal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
and especially younger people.
Yeah. You and me against the world, and the more forbidden the relationship is, the more enticing it could be. So maybe if mom sort of lays back and just allows him to do what he needs to do, then eventually he may discover for himself that this is not a good situation.
Yeah, at 20, I'm pretty sure, I can probably say 98% sure that's not who he's going to end up with.
Absolutely. And then we know that there's this whole maturity deal.
Yeah.
So whatever Miss 30-year-old is finding, she's a cougar for real, but whatever she's finding in this younger guy is probably more superficial than not.
You said that well. Okay.
It probably won't last long anyway.
Right.
But I would be curious to know a few more details, like how many children and how old they are, and is this 20-year, how mature this 20-year-old is as well, and how this whole deal turned out. But still, at the end of the day, Mom, we would agree. Do we agree?
I agree with what you're saying.
That you should mind your business, and allow your son to do what he needs to do to get where he needs to go. What do you think?
I agree, and just let him live, Mom.
Yeah, and I say that to my daughter a lot of times too. I had my fun. I had an opportunity to live, to make my mistakes, and do what I needed to do. And I think everybody should have an opportunity to do that. It's those life experiences that really do, in most cases, make you a better person. You and I were having a conversation offline about things in life that make you not a good person, but
right.
I think at the end of the day that they do make you a better person. Everybody that gets a broken heart doesn't turn out to be a bad person.
No, well, what I was saying is that everyone who gets a broken heart is not a bad person, but everybody who breaks hearts had their heart broken.
Everybody that breaks hearts has had their heart broken.
Yes.
I think that everybody's had their heart broken, whether they break hearts or not, though. What you said was...
Yeah, I mean, that's me saying it with with some hindsight, but...
No, you said men...
All bad people were good at one time. That's what I said.
No, you said men that do bad things had their heart broken. Well, so you basically tried to blame...
Yeah, I mean, it's all that.
You tried to blame women for bad men.
Well, yeah.
And I'm saying some of them started out to be rotten at the core. Okay.
I am saying that. I stand behind that.
And I'm saying, I'm saying some of them were rotten from the core from the beginning of time.
Somebody did something
in the beginning of time.
Whether it was mom, and I was saying that I said this, when did I say this? I said this a few weeks ago on my mix show that the problems came from women.
What?
The first problem was Eve.
Okay.
I gave, and maybe the minister's rubbing off on me, but I gave the people during the mix show, the rappers, I gave them the analogy of the first problem being, it all stems from women. Everything, all crimes committed.
Well, you know what?
Comes from women. War, women, the guys selling drugs, women.
What do you mean?
All women. It's all women.
How's it all women?
Which part?
From the guys selling drugs is women. War is women.
And that's what they said. And that's what they said. So
where are you getting that from?
Here's the thing. Okay. So, guys take penitentiary chances for women. It's not for men. The reason that the guy's on the corner selling drugs is not because he wants to make the best drugs in the world and it's always been his desire to have he wants what he can attain from the sale of the drugs to impress women. He buys the car because he wants to get girls. He wears the clothes because I want girls to like me so I can be with them. So, that's what it's about. You want to impress women. That's why we take the chances. That's why we mess up. That's why we do all the things we do, is to impress women. We don't want guys to say, "Yo, you the man." That may be a result of getting the girls, but the reason we do it is to get women.
Well, I disagree with that.
Why do you think we take the chances that we take?
I believe that is very well true, but I believe that it's secondary. I believe absolutely. I believe the primary reason that guys are doing that is for self-indulgence and to feed their own male egos. I think they are doing that so that they feel powerful within themselves, and I believe that they think that the money and the prestige is what makes them powerful and what helps them get girls and so on and so forth, and that's why they mess up. So at the end of the day, they really are still self-absorbed.
Well, that's the case. You got to blame them. In your scenario, they are to blame.
Men are to blame.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your scenario, women are to blame.
Right. I'm
saying that it's their own ego.
I mean, it's a good point.
They ease God out, and they want to be. They believe it's still self-satisfying. And the perk, or however you want to put it, the perk could be that if you get this right, you could have girls. But at the end of the day, they're not doing it to get girls. They're doing it to for their egos. That's what they're doing it for, their egos.
To stimulate. I think that you made a very good counterpoint.
Absolutely.
I can't really come back from that, but I got you. I got you.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, please go to minbcrawford.com and send in some questions, some real life scenarios, and some good stuff so that Diamond K and I can sit down and talk about these things, and I can get him straight and fix him, as he says that women have started all things, because he is correct.
Wait. I want to give you this is the hip hop interpretation of the beginning of the problems.
Are you gonna rap?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to talk you through this.
Okay.
But this is a hip hop mentality.
Okay.
So Adam is in the Garden of Eden.
Yes, he is.
Chilling.
He's chilling. Right.
And he's looking around and he says, "Hey, I guess horse got 2 people, giraffe got 2 people, wolf got 2 people, everybody, the birds. I need somebody. Excuse me, God. Can I have somebody too?" God said, "Well, you sure you want somebody?" "Yes, please. I feel lonely."
Okay.
"All right. Let me give you what you want." So he says, go to sleep. He takes the rib. Boom. Eve comes. This is what you said you wanted. Eve's there. So they're good. It's happy. It's fine. They're in the honeymoon stages, right?
Yes, they are.
They're in the honeymoon stages. Now, something happens after the honeymoon stage is over. He says, okay, I got to go out a little bit. He needs to get out the house a little bit. So he's going out a little bit further. He's going in the woods a little bit deeper and spending some time so he can miss Eve a little bit.
Okay. This is the hip-hop version.
This is the hip-hop version for it. Now, when he's missing Eve is feeling, I need compliments. I need to feel, I need somebody telling me, how good I look. So she's out hanging out a little bit. And who does she bump into?
The serpent.
The serpent.
Yes.
And the serpent's like, dang, you look kind of fly, Eve. How you doing? And she's chit-chatting. And so she's feeling, good. Okay, so now the serpent starts building a relationship with Eve. Now, unbeknownst to Adam, who's going out, hanging out. So Eve's built this relationship with the serpent, who's really what? A snake.
Absolutely.
And
like most of them are.
Not having her or her man's best interests at heart.
Okay.
So you have this tree that is untouchable.
Right.
And the thing that's so interesting to me about the tree is the creator could have put the tree, there could have been no tree. It's not even the tree. The tree symbolizes something that you need to leave alone.
Well, that's what God told them.
Yeah, you need to leave the tree alone. Don't touch the tree. It's not your tree. It's my tree. But he put the tree there.
Told him, right.
Mm-hmm. The tree only represents don't do this. You have all these things, don't do this, right? Because he didn't have to put the tree there.
Well, that makes it enticing.
Absolutely. Okay. But it shouldn't make it enticing because you should just leave it alone. It should be the anti-tree, the untree. You should leave it alone. You should not want it because you have access to everything else but that. But in ours,
obviously she had access to that. That's how she got to it. She just wasn't supposed to touch it.
Right. You had access to it, but you leave it alone. Don't eat nothing from it. Okay. Now, the serpent already knows that. She talks out with that tree. She's like, that tree look kind of slick. Why can't we have that tree in it? So he says, well, look, word on the street is you eat from that tree, you're going to be just like God. What? For real? Adam said I shouldn't leave that tree alone. He was, you know what I mean? So now she's planning that in his mind. Adam comes home. She's like, yeah. Why we can't eat from that tree? What, you scared of God? And so she's nagging at him. And we respond negatively to the nagging.
Oh,
and she nagged him, and she poked him, and she prodded him, and she belittled him until he said, okay, fine, we'll eat from the tree. Now, that's the problem. This happens over and over and over again. Fellas, don't let her and the serpent have you eating from the wrong tree.
Well, at the end of the day, they were both given the same instructions. Adam had the information just like Eve had the information.
Yeah.
So, first of all, why was Adam running around so much?
He needed a break. Eve was all up on him. He needed his space.
Eve was not all up on him. He was running around because, that's what men do. At the end of the day, when he had free will, he chose to eat it when he should have said to Eve, he should have taken his rightful place as the man and said to Eve, we cannot do that.
He did say that.
He didn't stand firm.
That's true.
So it was his fault for not standing firm.
Hindsight.
Because that's the same thing that happens to most of us when we don't stand firm and do what we know is right.
Deep down inside, he wanted to eat from the tree. Obviously, which is why he did it. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. But I still think that if he had been more assertive, then maybe Eve would not have eaten from the tree.
Adam was a nice guy.
Okay.
Adam was too good of a guy.
Oh, here we go
right?
with the nice guy stuff
again. So even in the Garden of Eden, the nice guy finishes last.
Okay. Well,
Adam should have said, Lord, please, my Eve is broken. I'd like to trade her in for another one.
But guess what? Adam didn't do that because just like you said, Adam wanted to eat from the tree as well.
Yeah.
And so because he wanted to eat from the tree, Eve
was the excuse.
She was the excuse. But he was supposed to, be the protector. He was supposed to make sure that it didn't happen, although they both had the same information. But what Adam did is what happens a lot of times is he's like, okay, fine, I'm going to eat from the tree now because I can just say it was Eve's fault.
I think you might be onto something there.
Adam used Eve as a scapegoat. And if you look at many stories in American Gangster, if you just look at a lot of things, they always paint the woman as the problem. They always paint this picture of the woman being the one that has, that gets everything in trouble. And I don't know why this example is coming to my head, but in American Gangster, it was his woman that brought him this chinchilla.
Yep.
This
chinchilla. That's exactly what it was.
I think I can hear my husband in my ear saying, that's what I mean, is always the woman.
That's true.
And so she buys him this chinchilla coat and this hat. And everything turns around because he goes to the fight.
But let's keep in mind that she shouldn't have bought nothing.
But at the end of the day, he still knew that it was the type of thing that he didn't normally wear because he didn't want to bring attention to himself.
And so she gives him something to bring so much attention.
Sometimes
the feds came down.
Well, listen, they were living high off the hog. That's how they were rolling.
That's true.
So at the end of the day, sometimes, the man is supposed to stand up and say, hey, baby, we can't because, A, B, C, and D. You know what I mean? But sometimes they don't do that. Sometimes they just, sort of say, well, I can do it because then the first thing I'll say is, well, she did it. And that's exactly what Adam did when the Lord came. Adam didn't say, Lord, I'm sorry. I wanted to eat from that tree so bad. As soon as she suggested it, I went for it. He said, Lord, it was that woman that you gave to me.
It was. Because Adam had been in the garden without a woman, and the tree,
he was afraid.
The tree, he was untouched.
Afraid.
Was untouched tree.
He was afraid, but he wanted to do it anyway.
They got fingerprints on the tree.
Okay, but I think you were right when you said that he wanted, deep down inside, he wanted to do it anyway. And sometimes we do want to do things deep down inside. And it's not until we get a scapegoat or someone else that comes along and gives us courage, right?
Yeah. He got serpent courage.
M-I-N-B Crawford. minister.show@gmail.com. Send us some questions, some real life situations. I'm so excited about this opportunity. I think that Minister Crawford and Diamond K are going to be a nice duo, because Diamond K seems to think that that men are, so innocent and blameless. And I don't necessarily share that view.
What we are, it's like a newborn child. We're born innocent until we are corrupted.
The Bible says that we're born in sin and shaped
because
in iniquity. There's things in us that we come with this sinful nature.
We do.
Male and
because
female.
Of Eve. We do. But at the same time, we want to do good, but sometimes the world turns us another way for whatever reason.
Well, the reason might be because we don't have the relationship with God. Because once we get the relationship for God, the Bible says that he will make our path straight. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. Acknowledge him in all your ways, and he will make your path straight. He will.
There you have it.
He will make your path straight. But when you're running around on self-will and ego, which is easing God out, and thinking that you're blameless and innocent, then it doesn't really work that way. Right?
I agree.
Okay. So this was a wonderful experience. I'm excited about the questions that are going to come. Any biblical questions you guys want to ask, please feel free to do that. Questions about the Bible, we can dig in there and I'll research it and find out. And Diamond K and I will come and we will discuss it. We will answer your questions. I will straighten him out a little bit when time comes. Right?
I mean, you have answers.
I certainly do.
So that's what it is. Hashtag Ask the Minister. And so until next time.
Until next time. We have to get a tagline.
Yeah. Well, we got to work on that.
Until next time. Maybe we can get a song.
Well, we could definitely do
Write
that.
a little song. Or rap. I'll rap with you. I can rap. I'm a rapping minister. Yeah.
We'll
rap something.
You're the hip-hop minister?
Yeah, we'll mix it up. We'll have a little bit of little bit of God in it, and at the end of the day, we're gonna just keep it real, but we're gonna bring God into the center of it all.
And
how's that sound? That could be controversial.
I'm sure a lot of things we've said are controversial.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, we're having real talk and real conversations. People want to talk about it. People want to know about it. So we're doing a new thing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So once again, minbcrawford.com, radioonfire.com.
Hashtag
Ask the Minister.
Ask the Minister.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.